the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts.
Let's talk about the Raiders' loss. Chiefs beat the Raiders 30-29. Tough loss. Raiders go for 2. There was a couple questionable play calls or a couple of questionable referee calls. Not a couple. There was quite a few. But anyway, overall, what were your thoughts of the game first before we get into the calls?
Overall thoughts, I thought we could have played a little bit better in certain aspects of the game. I felt like that our run game was really, really good. Josh Jacobs was running the ball basically up and down the field against the Chiefs, which basically you had mentioned the last time we recorded. I think it was last week that you said that Josh Jacobs usually feasts on the Chiefs, and he did not disappoint at a career high in rushing. I felt our defense was actually decent, our pressuring defense. We sacked Mahomes 3 times. Although our secondary, again, just could not contain Kelsey, and, there was a collection of other receivers that were basically able to do some damage to us down the field. And, we're going to talk about the infamous call, so I might as well mention it. There was a call that went for the Raiders, with the roughing the passer call. And, did it keep a drive alive for the Raiders to score? Yes, it did. But there was a couple other calls later on in the game that kind of, turned a little bit for the Raiders. The holding penalty that was on the field goal that would have switched field positions for us. The holding on Max Crosby that was on the same drive, in fact, that would have pushed him back even further. So it probably could have ended up in another field goal position. So, overall, I feel like we played very well. I did not like the play call of going for 2. On our last touchdown. I would have much rather just played for the tie. I get the argument of going for 2. I just feel like, it was something that it was 4.5 minutes left. Even if they scored, we would have had an opportunity to go down the field, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those were my initial thoughts. I think we played really well. Our playoff hopes are looking extremely dim right now. So I'm trying to be optimistic. Every single game we were within a field goal. So it's not like a touchdown. It was a field goal. So we were in every single one of these games, and maybe a couple more plays that we execute and we turn it around, one way or the other. So I'm hoping when we come back from this bye week that we're on that we've made some adjustments and stuff. But, again, it's just the same old frustration. I feel like we're better than what our record shows. And, we just need to see it on the field. So.
Well, I wanted to start with the positives first for the game. On my thoughts on this game was, you mentioned it, Josh Jacobs. Career high in rushing yards. He was huge. He came up huge for us. He's the reason why we ran the ball on the 2-point conversion, which I honestly had no problem with. I wish we would have tried to run the ball on. We had a 4th and 1. And that's when Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow ran into each other, and ended that game. But I would have much rather seen Josh Jacobs run up the, right up the middle, and I thought Josh Jacobs was unstoppable. And even though yes, they did stop us on that 2-point conversion, I still felt like overall Jacobs really was getting the best of him every single time. So, kudos to Josh Jacobs. Exactly what you were saying. I was saying it for a while, that we need to keep feeding Josh Jacobs, because what I was seeing, a lot of people were like, well, Josh Jacobs, he's not really doing well. It's like, well, I don't feel like we're being consistent with the run. And when we were consistent with the run, you saw what happened. Josh Jacobs is a beast. There's a reason why Raider fans love Josh Jacobs, because this guy does not go down on the first hit. He is a tough MFer to take down for sure. So I really like the way we used him. And honestly, too, a big shout out to the offensive line. They were blocking not only on the passing game, but obviously with the running game too. They were doing a really good job getting Josh Jacobs to the second level, and then Josh Jacobs is doing everything else. So I appreciate that. I will shout out from the Backseat Podcast. Kudos to you guys. You guys are probably on a high right now after winning the second game in the series. So shout out to you guys as you guys are watching right now. So appreciate it. Anyway, Another positive was we went to Adams in the fourth quarter. Not as much as I still think, we would have liked, but I do feel like when we needed a big play, we went to, as he said, go Pods.
Yeah, he's totally excited.
Someone's been drinking. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hopefully it's not the expired Bud Light that he drank at the home run derby stream that we did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
But Adam,
so Ethan said that he's going to the game tomorrow. Clark was there tonight. So okay, right on.
Okay.
So he's sober.
Right,
we're good.
So Clark definitely is drinking. But anyway, Adams in the fourth quarter. I mean, the big play where Carr threw off one leg and just absolutely dimed him in the end zone. I mean, it was beautiful. So, that's what we needed to do. I'm not saying we needed to target Davante Adams 10 times in the fourth quarter, even though I honestly wouldn't hate that. At the same time, we were targeting him and we were using him correctly. I thought, honestly, offensively, our play calls were really good. We're really crisp. We're really we were balancing the run game really well. And then Carr was feeling a lot more comfortable, in my opinion. And he was deciding to throw the ball just laser after laser after laser, in my opinion. So I thought the Raiders did a really good job of that. And speaking of Derek Carr, I thought he was having a really good game. I mean, you kind of look at his numbers a little bit. I wouldn't say it really shows that he was having a phenomenal game, but he went 19 of 30, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we had that game, and you don't need Carr to throw 300 yards. We honestly, you could argue that we didn't need Carr to throw for 200 yards because Josh Jacobs was running for 154 yards. I mean, he was phenomenal. But the 2 touchdowns definitely were huge for us. And, unfortunately, obviously, we ended up losing that game. The negatives for me, the defense. Defense couldn't stop anything. The defense was terrible. I have been a component that I didn't think that the Raiders' defense was as bad as what we thought, but they played like that in that game. It was really bad. Kelsey with 4 touchdowns. I mean, that should never happen. One guy getting all the passing touchdowns, it shouldn't happen. You should, by the third one, you should know, okay, it's going to Kelsey. And it's like we didn't figure that out. And then I honestly, I understood the 2-point conversion. You wanted to put a little pressure on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and make them have to. And you could make the argument of, hey, we've seen their field goal kicker. He wasn't lights out. So I don't know, maybe we can get away with him missing another field goal, but I think you're playing with fire when you do that. I think you should just go for the tie, especially if you're an away team. I think just go for the tie, especially when you're struggling to win one game out of your 5 games that you've been playing. So, just try and go into overtime and see what you can do against them and see if you can get the ball first, because we knew we could drive the ball on them. We were doing it all game long. Another thing, Darren Waller. I know he had an injury, but I think that's a negative right now. The contract that we signed him to, the productivity that he has had so far, it's almost 0 to none. He hasn't been great. I know a lot of people are killing Derek Carr for him throwing up in the red zone where everyone was like, he almost got him killed. But we've seen Waller make those catches all the time. He has to make that catch, and Carr had to throw it there. He couldn't throw it down. The defensive line had their hands up, so he had to get it over the defensive line. And I'm a little disappointed in Waller right now. I know Raider Nation definitely is. And then Hunter Renfrow. He was back in this game, and almost a non-factor. And it's another guy that we need. And as much as Davante Adams, as good as he is, he left the Packers for a reason. Yes, you had Aaron Rodgers, but there was no one else helping Davante Adams out. Now you come to the Raiders, you thought, oh, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr. Hey, I got some help. And right now, there's been no help. Matt Collins is kind of our second best receiver, and that shouldn't be it. he should not be our second best. So, I've actually been talking about, I would love to see the Raiders go after like an OBJ, because I just feel like we need some sort of help. We need some guys who are going to play it. Obviously, I don't think we're going to. I don't think we could, money-wise. But I mean, if there's a way we can, I'm not opposed to it, because I think we gotta do something here, because it's not looking great for all the other receivers. Even though I'm saying that, and we literally could be 5-0 on 5 possessions, like one possession each game. If we made a different call, if we made a different throw, if we made a different run, or whatever it may be, different call was made. We could be easily 5-0. We should have won that game. My brother-in-law even said I shut the game off because I thought the Raiders had it, and I was getting ready to go somewhere, and he goes, all of a sudden I saw that the Raiders lost, and was like, what the heck? It's exactly how Raider fans felt. We felt like we should have won that game.